As always, I welcome you to The Truth in a Nutshell. I am Michael Boldia, your host, and before we begin today's teaching, I just wanted to apologize for the lengthy time lapse between these 10-minute YouTube teachings. We have started to fill them regularly, so hopefully you'll get everything. If I'd been called to do only one thing, it would be easy for me to keep abreast of it and be faithful in the continuity of it. But since I'm juggling a handful of projects all at once, whether it's filming longer 30-minute teachings, writing books, doing radio programs, or interviews, or preaching in churches, time is in short supply. Couple that with my twice-yearly trips back to my homeland to check up on our work there, and, well, you get the picture. Time is a commodity, make no mistake about it. Only when we begin to gray at the temples and have already passed the halfway point of our existence do we begin to appreciate how fleeting time really is. And we begin to make every minute count. Speaking of making every minute count, today we will be discussing the attributes, the qualities, and the prerequisites required of a chosen man or woman of God. Many individuals either want to be chosen of God or claim to have been chosen of God, but are unaware of all that God requires when He chooses and calls a servant to His service. We cannot serve God on our terms. We must serve Him on His terms. We cannot go about fulfilling our callings the best way we see fit, but as God would have us do it. For only in obeying the guidance, the voice, and the will of God will our calling bear fruit and our labors be rewarded. To be a chosen individual in God's plan is to be ready to submit to the authority of God and be at His disposal for the fulfillment of His plans. When we are called of God, then our will, our aspirations, our dreams, our estimation of ourselves, they all have to disappear, along with our pride and our sense of self. One who is called becomes a servant who was chosen to fulfill a purpose in order to bring about the plan of God. They must surrender or acquiesce their will, their wants, and submit to the authority of God completely. A man who was chosen of God, yet is very rarely spoken of in many a church, is Joseph, the husband of Mary. We speak of Mary often enough, we speak of the manger often enough, we speak of the birth of Christ often enough, or at least some who still cling to Jesus still do. But as far as Joseph is concerned, for many he is a footnote in biblical history and nothing more. Being one who has great respect for those who do not hog the limelight, for lack of a better term, but are content with being humble servants away from the spotlight, I want to discuss the life of Joseph for a little while and see what is required of one who is called of God by understanding the true measure of what was required of him. Matthew 1:18-20 says it this way, "Now the birth of Jesus Christ was as follows. After his mother Mary was betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Spirit. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man, not wanting to make her a public example, was minded to put her away secretly. But while he thought about these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take to you Mary, your wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit." So here we have a man to whom Mary was betrothed, and before they could be together, he discovers his fiancée is with child. Now he decides not to shame her publicly, but rather put her away secretly. But between thinking of putting her away and following through with it, Joseph has a dream. Now it is from this dream and what the angel of the Lord told him in the dream that we can glean certain truths in regards to what being an individual called of God entails. First, an individual who is called of God must obey. Once the angel of the Lord told Joseph what he must do, and that the child that was conceived of the Holy Spirit, he followed through without delay or further inquiry. Joseph knew God. He had a relationship with God, and because he knew God and had a relationship with Him, Joseph obeyed when God spoke to him. The angel of the Lord knew Joseph as an individual. His greeting was specific, as the angel called him Joseph, son of David. Now, whoever you are, wherever you are, God knows you personally and intimately. He knows you to the depths of your heart. He knows every iota of your past, of your present, and of your future. Nothing is hid from His eye, and if you desire to know God, God will reveal Himself to you all the more. Now, the second prerequisite for an individual who is called of God is that they be wholly surrendered to Him. One cannot be chosen to serve, whether in small things or great ones, if they are not wholly surrendered to God. There is no such thing as half surrender or a quarter surrender. There is either complete surrender, complete obedience, complete subservience towards God, or rebellion, disobedience, and a feigning of obedience in order to attain some vested interest. If you desire to be chosen of God and to be used of Him, then you must surrender all your dreams, all your plans, all your desires to God. There can be no half measure. There can be no divided loyalties. For we know full well that no man can serve two masters. No man can serve both God and Satan. When God chooses us for a task, we must submit to the task for which we were chosen. Now, some are at first flattered by the fact that God chose them and called them, but when they find out what it is God requires of them, they get disheartened and they begin to murmur in their hearts because they believe themselves to be better suited for something other than what God called them to. A true servant, one who knows what it means to serve, will do what God requires of him without murmur and without complaint. A true servant knows that the reward is not in the task itself, but in the obedience of carrying out the task. I realize this might seem like semantics to some, but I assure you it is not. Let's put it this way. If God told me to give a glass of water to someone and He told you to travel halfway around the world to help in a third world country for no less than a year, if we both carried out our duty and obeyed, we would both be rewarded because we obeyed. Not because one task was more difficult to carry out than the other, but simply because we obeyed. And this brings us to our third and final requirement or prerequisite of every chosen servant, and that is, he must accept the task to which he has been called. The greatest test of obedience and submission is when we accept the situation and the afferent results in which we find ourselves. When we acknowledge that they are allowed of God in our lives for a purpose. Now, although we might not see the purpose, although we might not understand it, when God calls us, when He chooses us and speaks to us, we must obey His voice. We must do as He commands and follow through with our commitment without murmur or second-guessing Him. In being wise servants and obeying the voice of God, we will receive the reward of our labors, and one day we will realize that all of God and everything that He commanded us to do and all that He allowed us to go through was in fact for our own good and for our own benefit. As always, a heartfelt thank you for joining us, and until next time, may God bless you. Now, since we've started filming these short teachings again, and we've gone through about 10, please tune in weekly to see new ones for as long as the Lord will give us the ability and for as long as I have the necessary time. As always, this has been The Truth in a Nutshell. God bless you.